She's dead by now, accept it. Mr. Brennan's voice was ice. 37 students nodded behind him, warmed by the fire safe from the blizzard screaming outside. Mason Cole didn't nod. Lily Hawkins is still out there. And you're going to do what play hero, Brennan laughed. You're a farm boy. You smell like cow manure. Sit down before I expel you. Mason walked to the emergency exit, 40 below zero. White death, waiting. Daniels opened that door and your future is over. Mason opened it. Her future matters more. He jumped into the storm. Subscribe to our channel and follow this story to the end. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story has traveled. Mason hit the snow and the cold punched the air straight out of his lungs. 38 below, wind chill pushing it past 50. Every breath felt like swallowing razor blades dipped in ice. Behind him, the emergency alarm screamed into nothing. Nobody was coming after him. He knew that. He'd known it the second Brennan opened his mouth. He pulled out his grandfather's compass. Hands already shaking. Northeast, the tree line. That's where he'd seen her last. 200 yards in good weather. In this nightmare, it might as well be the moon. Lily. His voice vanished like it never existed. Lily Hawkins. Nothing came back but wind. He pushed forward anyway. 4 hours earlier, everything had been normal. Normal for Mason anyway. He sat in the second row of the charter bus alone, running his grandfather's whetstone along the edge of his hunting knife. Scrape, scrape, scrape. The rhythm drowned out the bass-heavy garbage blasting from the back where the rich kids partied. Oh my God, can you not? Madison Chen stopped in the aisle designer ski jacket, probably worth more than Mason's truck. Her nose wrinkled like she'd stepped in something. Seriously. Serial killer vibes, much. Mason didn't look up. He tested the blade against his thumbnail, sharp enough to split a hair. He folded it and slid it into his pack next to the paracord waterproof matches, emergency blanket fire starter, and the dog-eared survival manual his grandfather had given him 3 days before the cancer won. The inscription inside, Mason, the mountains don't give a damn about your money or your grades. They only care if you're smart enough to respect them. Love, Grandpa. Attention, seniors. Mr. Brennan stood at the front polo shirt, impressed, khakis screaming midlife crisis. We're about 2 hours from Pinecrest Resort. Weather report mentioned some light snow, but I've been running this trip for 12 years. We'll be fine. His phone buzzed. He frowned at it. Anyway, heated chalets full lodge and another buzz, deeper frown. Just keep it down back there. Mason watched Brennan's face. The man was worried, hiding it badly. Something was coming. In the back of the bus, Lily Hawkins sat alone, black leather jacket draped over the seat beside her like a wall. Not the cheap synthetic stuff the other girls wore. Real leather, the kind that came with history, the kind that meant Hell's Angels. Her blonde hair was pulled into a messy bun, combat boots propped against the seat in front of her. You mind? Chad Morrison turned around, ski team jacket, crisp and expensive. His father owned half the commercial real estate in the county. Some of us actually care about keeping things clean. Lily didn't move her feet. Some of us actually don't care what you think. Of course you don't. Chad's smile was poison. Must be nice having Daddy's biker gang fight all your battles. What do they teach in motorcycle clubs anyway? How to cook meth, how to break kneecaps. Mason's hand tightened on his knife. He wasn't sure why. He'd never spoken to Lily Hawkins. Never even been close enough to say hello. But something in his chest pulled tight. Say that again. Lily's voice went quiet. Dangerous. Or what? You'll have your daddy's Chad. Madison grabbed his arm. Shut up. Her dad literally runs the Hell's Angels. You want to wake up in a ditch somewhere. Chad laughed, but it came out nervous. Whatever. Just keep your dirty boots off my seat. Lily pulled her feet down, turned to the window. Mason caught a reflection in the glass. She was blinking fast, fighting something. She was lonely, just like him. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it and something in her face softened. She typed a quick response, then went back to staring at nothing. Mason went back to his knife. Neither of them knew that text would be the last thing on her phone before the battery died. The blizzard came out of nowhere. 1 minute gray sky, but manageable. The next white chaos. Like someone had stuffed the whole world inside a snow globe and started shaking. Mr. Brennan, The bus driver's voice crackled over the intercom. We need to pull over. I can't see the road. Ice is building up fast. We're 30 minutes from the resort. Brennan was still checking his phone. Can't you just push through? Sir, I literally cannot see. The bus lurched. Someone screamed. Mason's head snapped up just in time to watch the world tilt sideways. Not spinning, sliding, smooth and slow and inevitable like a ship going down. The driver pumped the brakes. Physics didn't care. The right wheels caught the snow berm. The whole bus tipped, settled at a 45-degree angle into the ditch. Silence. Then panic. Everyone calm down, Brennan shouted, which made everything worse. Stay in your seats. The driver's calling for help. My phone has no signal. Mine either. Oh God, are we gonna die? Mason was already moving. He grabbed his pack and fought his way to the front boots, slipping on the tilted floor. Mr. Brennan, we need to evacuate now. Engine's still running and we're half buried. Exhaust gets blocked. We've got carbon monoxide in 20 minutes. I'm aware of that, Daniels. Brennan's hands were shaking as he tried his phone. I don't need some farm boy telling me, then stop talking and start moving people. Mason's voice cut through the chaos. Sir. Brennan stared at him. Something in Mason's face made him shut up. Everyone grab your bags. We're hiking to the ranger station. I saw it about a mile back. A mile in this. It's that or suffocate on the bus. Move. 1. The emergency exit hissed open. Students started filing out into the screaming wind. Temperature had dropped 20 degrees in the last hour. Mason counted heads as they passed. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. He frowned, counted again. 37. Mr. Brennan, Mason grabbed the teacher's arm. Someone's missing. What? 38 students on the roster. 37 walking. Do the math. Brennan's face went white. That's impossible. I counted. Count again. Brennan's lips moved. His face went whiter. Oh, God. Who? Mason already knew. He'd been watching her all day. Seen her by the window. Hadn't seen her in the evacuation line. Who's missing? Lily Hawkins. Brennan's voice cracked. Where the hell is Lily Hawkins? Mason pushed back onto the bus. Lily, he climbed over tilted seats, checking every row. Lily, you here? Nothing. He found her phone wedged between two seats. Screen cracked. Last text still visible, from Dad. Have fun, baby girl. Call me when you get there. Love you. Her response. Love you too, Dad. Nothing after. Mason looked at the window above the phone. Open. Just a crack. She'd been trying to get signal. Leaning out, when the bus crashed, he looked at the snow outside. An indentation, a shape, already filling in. She'd fallen out, got knocked unconscious, rolled away, and nobody saw. Mason jumped through the window. Daniels, get back here, right now. Brennan's voice was already distant, already swallowed. Mason followed the trail, fading fast. Blizzard erasing everything. Lily, nothing. Lily Hawkins. The wind screamed back at him like it was laughing. The trail led toward the tree line. Maybe she woke up, saw the trees, headed for cover, or maybe she was lying somewhere in the snow, freezing to death, while 37 kids drank hot chocolate. Mason walked faster. So, back at the bus, Brennan made his call. Everyone were moving. Ranger Station. Now. What about Lily? Madison's voice was thin. And Mason. They'll catch up. But sir, I'm not freezing 37 students because 2 of them wandered off. Brennan's voice cracked. We move, now. Chad Morrison laughed. Nervous. Ugly. Maybe the farm boy and the biker princess deserve each other. Nobody else laughed. They started walking toward the ranger station. Not one of them looked back. Mason found the tree line. Snow slightly less brutal here. Thick spruce breaking the worst of it. Lily. A sound. Weak. Like a wounded animal trying not to be found. He pushed through the branches, and there she was. Lily Hawkins curled at the base of a massive spruce wedged into the hollow between the roots. Her leather jacket was covered in snow. Her hands were bare. She'd lost her gloves somewhere. Her lips were blue, skin paper white. and her eyes, when they opened at his footsteps, couldn't focus on anything. "Hey." Mason dropped to his knees beside her. "Lily, it's Mason. From school. I'm getting you out of here." "Mason." Her voice was slurred, thick. "What? It's cold. Just want to sleep." "Stage 2 hypothermia. Maybe stage 3. "You can't sleep. Look at me. Lily, look at me." Her eyes rolled toward his face but didn't quite land. "You're farm boy. Why are you here? To drag your stubborn butt back to civilization? Come on, we gotta move." He tried to pull her up. She pushed at his chest, weak, like fighting through water. "No, leave me alone. Fine here, just 5 minutes." The paradoxical undressing would come next. He could see her jacket was unzipped, scarf loosened, the dying brain's last confused attempt to cool down when it was actually freezing to death. Mason grabbed her face with both hands, forced her to look at him. "Lily Hawkins, daughter of Grizz Hawkins, president of the Hells Angels. You are not dying in these woods. You hear me?" Something flickered. "My dad." "Yeah, your dad. He's probably already tearing the state apart looking for you, but we gotta stay alive until he gets here. Can you do that? Can you fight?" She nodded. "Barely." "Good. Arms around my neck, now." She complied, movements clumsy and slow. Mason got her onto his back and stood feeling her weight settle against him. Lighter than he expected, all leather and attitude with not much underneath. He took 3 steps back the way he came. Then the brutal truth hit him. He couldn't make it back to the ranger station. Half a mile through whiteout conditions, wind trying to knock them over, Lily dead weight on his back. They'd both die trying. His grandfather's voice, "If you can't get out, get down. If you can't get warm, get dry. If you can't get dry, get buried." Mason scanned the area. The spruce where he found Lily was good. Branches formed a natural shelter, but not enough, not for a whole night. He needed to build something better. A quinsy, a snow cave. He'd built dozens on the farm. Practice runs, never with someone's life depending on it. "Lily, I need you to stay awake. Talk to me. Can you do that?" Tell me about your dad. Tell me about the Hells Angels." "Dad," a faint smile crossed her blue lips. "Dad's scary, but he makes pancakes. Every Sunday. Chocolate chips." "Yeah, what else?" Sings real bad. Shower. Mom used to laugh." Her voice was fading. Mason worked faster. He found the spot. Snow drifted deep against a fallen log. Perfect. He shrugged off his pack, propped Lily against the log. She sagged like a broken doll, and he started piling snow. The quinsy technique was simple in theory. Pile snow into a dome, let it set. Ice crystals bond together. Hollow it out. They didn't have time for proper setting. Mason piled anyway, mechanical, efficient, pile pack. His hands went numb inside his gloves. He didn't stop. 20 minutes. A dome 6 feet wide, 4 feet high. He pulled out his folding shovel and started hollowing from a small entrance hole. The work generated heat. He was sweating despite the cold. Dangerous. Wet equals dead. He carved out space for 2 people to lie down. Gathered pine boughs from nearby, layered them on the floor for insulation. "Lily, we're moving." He dragged her inside. She was barely conscious, mumbling something about her mother. Mason blocked the entrance with his pack and loose snow, left a small ventilation hole near the top. The difference was immediate. Wind noise dropped to almost nothing. Temperature still below freezing, but survivable. He pulled out his emergency candle, thick, long burning, lit it with shaking hands and set it in a depression in the wall. The tiny flame put out surprising heat. Then came the hard part. "Lily, I need to get your jacket off." Her eyes snapped open, sharp with sudden fear. "What? Gnome, get away." "Your jacket's wet. Wet equals cold. I've got a dry wool liner. It'll keep you warmer. But you have to trust me." She stared at him, blue eyes searching his face for something. Whatever she found, it was enough. "Okay." She went limp. "Okay." He worked fast, removed the wet leather jacket, the soaked sweater underneath. Her skin was ice, pale as moonlight. He pulled a spare wool liner over her head, huge on her, hanging past her knee, then wrapped the emergency blanket around both of them. Why? She was shivering violently now. Good sign, body still fighting. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. You're a student at my school, that's enough. Everyone else, they hate me because of because I'm different. I don't hate you. You should. Her voice was getting stronger as warmth seeped in. I've never been nice to you, never even talked to you. You've never been mean to me either. That puts you ahead of most people. She laughed, weak, surprised. The bar's really that low. Welcome to my world. Dahem. They were quiet for a while, wind whistling through the ventilation hole, candle flickering. We're gonna die here, aren't we? Lily asked. No. You sound pretty sure. I am sure. Mason adjusted the blanket, making sure it covered both of them. We're gonna survive until morning. Then we're gonna walk out of here and give Mr. Brennan the worst day of his life. My dad's gonna kill him. Your dad's gonna have to get in line. Another weak laugh. Then Mason, yeah. Thank you. He didn't know what to say, so he just nodded and added more pine boughs to their nest. The candle burned low. Hours passed. The storm raged outside like something alive and angry. Inside, two teenagers from opposite worlds huddled together for warmth. Tell me something. Lily's voice broke the silence. Why do they call you farm boy like it's supposed to hurt? Mason checked the ventilation hole. Still clear. Because it is. To them. That's stupid. Did I show up smelling like animals? Clothes are secondhand. Missed days during harvest. Can't afford the ski trips or the dances or any of the stuff that matters to them. None of that stuff matters. Easy to say when you have it. Lily shifted, trying to get comfortable. Trust me, I have all the money I could ever want. Still miserable. Poor little rich girl. Poor little biker princess, she corrected. You know what it's like having everyone terrified of your last name? Teachers give me A's because they're scared of my dad. Boys won't ask me out because they think the Hells Angels will kill them. Girls won't be friends with me because I'm dangerous. Are you dangerous? She thought about it. I know how to shoot, know how to fight. I know which of my dad's guys are soldiers and which are just hangers-on. But I've never hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. Define deserve it. Chad Morrison grabbed my ass at a party last year. I broke his nose. Mason raised an eyebrow. I remember that. He said he walked into a door. He did. I was holding the door. A laugh escaped before Mason could stop it. Real. Surprised. Lily grinned. First time he'd seen the girl behind the armor. What about you? She asked. What's the farm boy story? Besides the obvious being poor and smelling like cow manure, I was going to say obviously competent in wilderness survival, but sure, we can go with manure. Mason checked the candle, half left. Long night ahead. My grandfather taught me, he said finally. After my dad died, Grandpa pretty much raised me. Taught me everything, said the world was getting too soft, too dependent on technology, said a man should be able to survive with nothing but a knife and his wits. Sounds intense. He was, but he was right. Mason's voice went quiet. When he got sick, all the technology in the world couldn't save him. Cancer doesn't care about your cell phone or your fancy doctors. I'm sorry. Don't be. He lived how he wanted, died how he wanted, on his land, in his bed family around him. Silence. Then, we're losing the farm. Lily looked at him. What? Bank's foreclosing. 2 weeks. Mom's been working double shifts at the diner, but it's not enough. Nothing's enough. Mason? That's why I'm on scholarship. 1 more semester and I graduate. Get a job. Maybe community college if I can swing it. Help Mom buy a little house somewhere. That's it. That's the dream, community college and a small house. Not everyone gets to dream big, Lily. His voice was flat, not bitter, just true. Some of us just try to survive. The words hung in the air. Outside wind howled like a living thing. I'm sorry, Lily said, for all of it, for never talking to you, for judging you, for everything. You didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything right either. She shifted closer. Mason tried not to notice how perfectly she fit against him. Everyone at school, her voice was soft now, they see me and they see my dad's leather. My dad's reputation. My dad's money. Nobody sees me. I see you. The words came out before he could stop them. Lily's breath caught. What do you see? Mason looked at her, really looked. Blonde hair falling out of its bun, blue eyes sharp and scared and brave all at once. A girl who wore armor because the world taught her she needed it. Someone stronger than she thinks. Someone lonely but won't admit it. Someone who probably hates ski trips but came anyway because she's trying to fit in. I really do hate skiing. A small smile. Dad made me come, said I needed normal teenage experiences. Like there's anything normal about me. There's nothing normal about any of us. That's what makes us interesting. She smiled. A real one this time, not the sharp defensive thing she wore at school. You're not what I expected, Mason Cole. What did you expect? I don't know. Quiet, boring, simple. I am quiet, but you're not boring, and you're definitely not simple. She looked at the Quincy walls, the carefully arranged pine boughs, the ventilation hole positioned just right. You built a house out of snow with your bare hands, in a blizzard, to save someone you don't even know. I know you now. Yeah, her voice went soft. You do. The candle flickered, almost went out, steadied. Can I ask you something? Lily said. Sure. Why did you really come after me? You could have died, you still might. Mason thought about all the easy answers. Because it was right, because someone had to, because he couldn't live with himself otherwise. But the truth was simpler and more complicated than that. Because I've spent 4 years being invisible, he said. The poor kid, the farm kid, the scholarship charity case. I'm tired of being invisible, tired of letting the Mr. Brennans of the world decide who matters and who doesn't. So you're saying I matter. Everyone matters. That's the point. Brennan couldn't be bothered to count properly because you're just the biker's kid. But you're not just anything. You're someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone's someone. Lily was quiet for a long time. You're going to make me cry, farm boy. Please don't. Your tears will freeze. And that's just one more problem. She laughed through the tears already forming. Too late. Mason handed her the dry corner of the blanket. Here. Thanks, she wiped her eyes. You know what's funny? My dad always says the world's full of takers, users, people who want something from him, from us. But you didn't want anything. You just came. I want one thing. What? Both of us to walk out of here alive. Deal. She held out her hand. They shook on it, grips firm despite the cold. Hours crawled by. Wind calmed slightly. Or maybe they'd just gotten used to it. Tell me about your dad, Mason said. The real story, not the rumors. Lily settled against him. My dad's complicated. People think biker gangs are all drugs and violence. And yeah, some clubs are like that. But the Hells Angels, at least my dad's chapter, he built it different. How so? They're soldiers, most of them, vets, Iraq, Afghanistan, some from Vietnam. Guys who came back and couldn't fit into normal society. Dad gave them purpose, family, rules. What kind of rules? No hard drugs, no violence against civilians, no crimes against women or children. You break those rules, you're out. And she paused. Or worse. Worse? Dad doesn't talk about the or worse, but I've seen guys disappear, guys who crossed lines they shouldn't have. That doesn't scare you. Terrifies me. But I also know my dad would die before he'd let anything happen to me. He's a good man in a bad world. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. What about your mom? She's a fighter. After Dad died, she could have given up, sold the farm, moved to the city, lived off welfare, but she didn't. She worked, taught me to work, showed me that being poor doesn't mean being weak. She sounds amazing. She is, and she's going to kill me when she finds out I walked into a blizzard. My dad might beat her to it. They both laughed, strange and precious in their little snow cave. Mason, yeah. If we die here, I just want you to know this is the best conversation I've had in years. We're not dying. But if we do, we're not, she smiled. Okay, farm boy, we're not dying. Pause. But when we get out of here, I owe you big time. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do, and Hawkins always pay their debts. She poked his chest. So start thinking about what you want. I'll take a burger. I'm starving. A burger. I saved your life and you want a burger. You didn't save my life. I saved yours. Details. She yawned. God, I'm tired. You can sleep now. You're warm enough. I'll keep watch. You sure? I'm sure. She closed her eyes, then opened them again. Mason said, yeah, don't go anywhere. Couldn't if I wanted to. Storm's still going. That's not what I meant. He looked at her. She looked back. Something passed between them that neither could name. I'm not going anywhere, Lily. She smiled, closed her eyes, and this time she slept. Mason kept watch through the endless night, checked the ventilation hole, fed the candle, monitored Lily's breathing. Outside, the storm raged and raged and raged, but inside their little snow cave, two invisible people had finally been seen. Meanwhile, 60 miles away, Grizz Hawkins was tearing the world apart. His phone had died. His daughter wasn't answering. The school wasn't answering. Nobody was answering. He'd made 3 calls. The first was to his sergeant-at-arms. Get everyone, now! The second was to the county sheriff. My daughter's on that ski trip bus. Find her or I will. The third was to the governor, a man who owed Grizz favors he'd never be able to repay. I need roads cleared. I need helicopters. I need everything you've got. By midnight, 20 Hells Angels were mounted up, trucks loaded with supplies, snowmobiles on trailers. By 2 a.m., they were moving. By 4 a.m., every cop in the state knew get out of Grizz Hawkins' way or get run over. His daughter was out there somewhere, and God help anyone who'd let her get hurt. Dawn crept through the ventilation hole like a shy visitor. Mason opened his eyes. He dozed off around 4 a.m. despite himself. Immediately checked on Lily. She was still asleep, face peaceful, color better, breathing steady. She was going to make it. They both were. He crawled to the entrance, pushed aside the snow blocking it, poked his head out. The world was transformed. Storm had passed, left behind nothing but white. Pristine, silent, beautiful in a deadly way. Sun crysting the eastern peaks. Snow turned to diamonds. Sky so blue it hurt. And in the distance, engines. Lily, he shook her gently. Wake up, we made it. Her eyes opened, confused, then focusing. Mason, did we? We survived. Come on, let's get you out of here. He helped her out of the Quincy. They stood together in the morning light. Lily's boots were ruined. Jacket was a mess. Hair looked like a bird had nested in it. But she was alive, and she was smiling. We actually did it, she breathed. We survived a blizzard. You survived. I just built a fancy snow fort. You saved my life. Before Mason could respond, the engine noise grew louder, much louder. 4 snowmobiles crested the ridge, moving fast. Behind them, 3 black pickup trucks with the Hells Angels logo on the doors. Lily's whole face transformed. Dad! The lead snowmobile skidded to a stop 20 feet away, threw up a wave of powder. The rider tore off his helmet. Grizz Hawkins. He was off the sled and running before the engine died. Lily met him halfway. Mason watched the most feared man in the state scoop his daughter up like she weighed nothing, hold her tight enough to crack ribs, bury his face in her hair. Baby girl. Grizz's voice broke. Baby girl, I thought, I'm okay, Daddy. I'm okay. The other riders dismounted, formed a protective circle. Mason recognized the type, military bearing, hard eyes, hands that automatically checked for weapons even in civilian clothes. These weren't weekend warriors. These were soldiers. Grizz set Lily down, checked her over like she might break. You hurt frostbite hypothermia. I'm fine, Dad, she pointed at Mason. I'm fine because of him. 20 pairs of eyes turned his direction. Grizz walked over. Each step deliberate, controlled. Up close, he was terrifying. Scars on his knuckles, tattoos crawling up his neck. Eyes that had seen things that would give most people nightmares for life. You're the farm kid. Yes, sir. You went into that blizzard, alone, to find my daughter. Yes, sir. Teacher said you were crazy, said you'd probably die, said they should leave you both. Mason met his eyes, didn't flinch. Safe for who, sir, not for Lily. Grizz stared at him for a long, long moment. Then impossibly he smiled. What's your name, son? Mason Cole, sir. Mason Cole. Oh, Grizz rolled it around like he was tasting it. Good name, strong name. He extended his hand. Thank you for bringing my daughter home. Mason shook it. Grizz's grip could have crushed bone, but it was gentle, respectful. She's tough, sir. She fought all night. Most people would have given up. She didn't. She's a Hawkins. We don't give up. Grizz turned to his men. Axe, medical kit. Get her checked out. And someone radio ahead. His voice went cold. Tell them we're coming for Brennan. What about the boy? Axe asked. Grizz looked back at Mason. Something shifted in his eyes. Something that looked almost like recognition. The boy comes with us. He put a massive hand on Mason's shoulder. He's packed now. The convoy rolled down the mountain like an army going to war. Mason sat in the back of Grizz's truck, Lily pressed against his side, emergency blanket still wrapped around her shoulders. 2 Hells Angels medics had checked her out. Minor frostbite on 3 fingers. Sprained ankle, mild hypothermia recovering well. She'd live. Mason wasn't sure he would once they reached the ranger station. You're quiet. Lily's voice was stronger now, color coming back to her cheeks. Thinking. About what happens next. Brennan's going to have his version of events, Ruetti. Rich parents backing him up. School board protecting their own. Lily laughed. Sharp, almost mean. You don't know my father very well. I don't know him at all. Then let me explain something. She shifted to face him. Grizz Hawkins doesn't argue, doesn't debate, doesn't negotiate. He walks into a room and reality bends around him. You'll see. Mason looked at the line of motorcycles ahead of them. 20 Hells Angels in formation, chrome gleaming in the morning sun. I'm starting to get that. Scared. Should I be? Lily smiled. Not anymore. You're packed now. That means something. What does it mean? It means nobody touches you. Nobody threatens you. Nobody hurts you without answering to every single one of those men. She squeezed his hand. And to me, Mason didn't know what to say to that, so he just squeezed back. The ranger station appeared through the trees, and chaos was waiting. 3 police cruisers, 2 ambulances, a news van from the local station, and a cluster of parents who'd driven through the night, faces tight with fear and relief. In the middle of it all, Mr. Brennan stood talking to a deputy, gesturing wildly, his face red with righteous indignation. There they are, someone shouted. Every head turned toward the convoy. Mason watched the color drain from Brennan's face as 20 motorcycles rolled into the parking lot. The engines cut off in unison. The silence that followed was somehow louder than the roar. Grizz dismounted first. Slow, deliberate. Every movement calculated to terrify. It worked. The deputy who'd been talking to Brennan took 3 steps backward without seeming to realize he was doing it. The news camera swung toward Grizz, then quickly away when the cameraman met his eyes. Baby girl, Grizz's voice carried across the lot. You good to walk? I'm good, Daddy. Then let's go have a conversation with your teacher. Lily climbed out of the truck. Mason moved to follow, but a hand landed on his shoulder. Axe the sergeant-at-arms, built like a refrigerator with tattoos. Stay close to Grizz. Don't speak unless spoken to. And whatever happens, don't flinch. What's going to happen? Axe smiled. It wasn't friendly. Justice, ice. Mason followed Lily across the parking lot. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Parents pulled their children back. Deputies rested hands on weapons they'd never be stupid enough to draw. Brennan stood his ground, but barely. His hands were shaking. Mr. Hawkins. His voice cracked on the name. I'm so glad Lily is safe. We were worried sick. The storm came out of nowhere and... Stop talking. 2 words. Quiet. Almost gentle. Brennan's mouth snapped shut. Grizz stopped 3 feet in front of him, close enough that Brennan had to crane his neck to meet his eyes. You had 38 students in your care. Yes, but... I said stop talking. Still quiet, still gentle, somehow worse. 38 students. You lost 1. My daughter. And when this young man, he gestured at Mason, tried to tell you someone was missing, you threatened to expel him. He was causing panic. I had to maintain... You had to count. Grizz's voice rose for the first time. That's all you had to do? Count to 38. A child can do that? My 5-year-old nephew can do that? But you couldn't because you were too busy checking your phone, Too busy protecting your schedule, too busy being important. Mr. Hawkins, I understand you're upset. Upset? Grizz laughed, no humor in it. Upset is when someone cuts me off in traffic. Upset is when my coffee order is wrong. What I am right now, Mr. Brennan, is something you don't have a word for, because you've never faced anything real in your soft, comfortable, tenure-protected life. Brennan looked around desperately. Deputies, parents, anyone. Nobody moved to help him. My daughter almost died. Grizz stepped closer. Alone, in a blizzard, because you couldn't be bothered to do your job. And while she was freezing to death, you were hiking to safety with hot chocolate and a clear conscience. The authorities were on their word. Protocol says, protocol, Grizz spat the word. You know who saved my daughter, not protocol, not authorities, him. He pointed at Mason, an 18-year-old kid with a pocket knife and a survival manual. He walked into a blizzard when you walked away. The crowd murmured. The news camera swung toward Mason. He wanted to disappear. Daniels acted recklessly, Brennan said, desperation creeping into his voice. He endangered himself and potentially made the situation worse. If he'd followed proper procedure, if he'd followed your procedure, my daughter would be dead. Silence. Absolute, total. Grizz turned to the deputies. I want this man arrested. Criminal negligence, child endangerment, whatever else you can make stick. Well, sir, we can't just... One deputy started. Grizz pulled out his phone, dialed. Put it on speaker. One ring, two. Grizz. The voice on the other end was tired, resigned. I heard you found her. I did, Sheriff. No thanks to the teacher who lost her. I'm standing here with two of your deputies who seem confused about their jobs. You want to clear things up for them? A long sigh. Put Deputy Morrison on. The older deputy stepped forward, face tight. Sheriff, arrest Brennan. Negligence, endangerment. Whatever the DA can make work. Process him, then call the school board. They're going to want to handle this personally before the press turns it into a circus. Yes, sir. The line went dead. Brennan's face went from white to green. You can't, my career, I have tenure. You had tenure. Grizz stepped back, finally giving Brennan room to breathe. Now you have handcuffs. Enjoy them. Deputy Morrison moved in, pulling out his cuffs. Mr. Brennan, you have the right to remain silent. Mason watched them lead his teacher away. The man who'd threatened to destroy his future. The man who'd written him off as a poor farm kid not worth listening to. Being arrested in front of his students, his colleagues. The news cameras. Mason should have felt satisfaction. Instead, he just felt tired. Hey, Lily appeared beside him. You okay? I don't know, this is a lot. It's going to get more intense. Fair warning. How could it possibly, Mr. Cole? Grizz's voice. Mason turned. The Hells Angels president stood with his arms crossed, surrounded by his men. 20 hardened bikers all staring at Mason like he was a specimen under glass. Yes, sir. Walk with me. It wasn't a request. Mason followed Grizz away from the crowd toward the tree line at the edge of the parking lot. His heart was pounding. He just watched this man destroy a career with 3 phone calls. What could he do to an 18-year-old nobody from a failing farm? They stopped near a massive pine. Grizz turned to face him. Tell me about yourself. Sir, your story. Start from the beginning. I want to know who saved my daughter. Mason swallowed. Not much to tell, sir. My dad died when I was 12. Tractor accident. Grandpa helped my mom raise me until cancer took him 3 months ago. We're losing the farm to the bank. I'm on scholarship trying to graduate, maybe get to community college if I can swing the money. That's the facts. I asked for the story. Mason wasn't sure what that meant. Then suddenly he was. I get up at 5 every morning to do chores before school, feed the animals, fix whatever's broken, check the fences. Then I drive 30 minutes to a school where everyone thinks I'm trash because my boots have manure on them. I eat lunch in the library because I can't afford the cafeteria, and I don't want people watching me eat the sandwich I packed from home. I take every AP class I can because good grades are the only way out. Then I drive home and work until dark. Sleep, repeat. Grizz nodded slowly. Why? Why what? Why keep going? Most kids in your situation would have given up by now, dropped out, taken some minimum wage job. Let the bank have the farm. Because my grandfather didn't raise a quitter. Because my mother works 3 jobs so I can have a future. Because giving up would mean everything they sacrificed was for nothing. In the blizzard, why risk your life for a girl you'd never spoken to? Mason thought about it, really thought. Because nobody else was going to. Because Brennan had already written her off. Because I spent 4 years being invisible, and I was tired of watching other people be invisible too. Grizz stared at him for a long moment. Those hard eyes saw everything, judged everything. Then he smiled. You know what I see when I look at you, Mason Cole? No, sir. I see my younger self, before the club, before the money, before any of it. I was a farm kid too, dirt poor, invisible. Everyone I knew told me I'd never be anything. They were wrong. Sir, I'm not finished. Grizz's voice softened. Not gentle exactly, but less hard. I built the Hells Angels into what it is today because I found men like you. Men who don't quit. Men who do what's right when it costs them everything. Men who walk into blizzards for strangers. I'm not a biker, sir. I don't know anything about that world. You know how to survive. You know how to work. You know how to be loyal. Grizz put a hand on his shoulder, heavy, warm. That's more than most men learn in a lifetime. Mason didn't know what to say. I made some calls this morning, Grizz continued, while my boys were searching for you and Lily. Found out some things. What things? Your farm, First National is holding the mortgage, $47,000 left on the loan. Foreclosure scheduled for 2 weeks from now. Mason's stomach dropped. Yes, sir. Not anymore. Sir, Grizz pulled out his phone, made a call. Frank, it's Grizz, the Cole Farm mortgage. Buy it, full amount plus 10%. I want the paperwork done by end of business today. Mason's world tilted. Mr. Hawkins, sir, I can't accept. You're not accepting anything. I'm paying a debt. Grizz hung up. You saved my daughter's life. In my world, that doesn't go unpaid. The farm is yours, free and clear. That's almost $50,000. I know what it is. Grizz's eyes were steady. I also know what my daughter is worth. There's no price tag for that. But if there was 50 grand, would be an insult. Mason felt his eyes burning. He blinked hard, forced it down. My mother will never accept this. She won't have a choice. It's already done. Grizz's hand tightened on his shoulder. But here's what I need you to understand. This isn't charity. This is honor. I don't give gifts. I pay debts. You saved what matters most to me, and now you're protected. Always, for life. What does that mean? It means if anyone ever threatens you, hurts you, tries to take what's yours, you call this number. Grizz handed him a card, plain white, just a phone number. Day or night, doesn't matter what the problem is. We handle it. Mason looked at the card, then at Grizz, then at the line of bikers watching them from across the lot. I don't know what to say. Say thank you, then say you'll take care of my daughter. Mason blinked. Sir, don't play dumb. I saw how she looks at you, how you look at her. Grizz's expression was unreadable. Lily's never let anyone get close. She's been hurt too many times. People wanting things from her, using her to get to me. But you're different. I don't want anything from her or from you. I know. That's why you're different. Grizz stepped back. I'm not giving you permission to date my daughter. She doesn't need my permission. She's her own woman. But I'm telling you this, if you hurt her, there's nowhere on earth you can hide. And if someone hurts you, they'll wish they'd never been born. I understand, sir. Good. Now let's go. There's more work to do. They walked back toward the parking lot. Mason's head was spinning. The farm was saved. He was under the protection of the Hells Angels. And Grizz Hawkins had just given him what amounted to a blessing to pursue his daughter. 24 hours ago, he'd been invisible. Now everything was different. Lily met them halfway across the lot. Everything okay? Everything's fine, baby girl. Grizz kissed her forehead. I need to deal with some more business. You take care of Mason. He's had a hell of a day. We both have. Yeah, you have. Grizz looked at her with something raw in his eyes. I was scared, Lily. First time in 20 years I've been truly scared. I know, Daddy. Don't do that to me again. I'll try not to get lost in any more blizzards. That's all I ask. He squeezed her shoulder, nodded at Mason, and walked toward the cluster of deputies. Lily turned to Mason. So, what did he say? He paid off my family's farm. What? $50,000, just like that. Made a phone call, and it's done. Lily's mouth opened, closed. That's a lot, even for him. He said it's paying a debt, that I'm packed now. You are. She took his hand. I told you Hawkins pay their debts, and you saved my life, Mason. That's not something we forget. I didn't do it for money. I know, that's why he did it. She smiled. You're probably the first person in years who's done something for our family without expecting anything in return. That means more to my dad than you can imagine. Mason looked at their joined hands, her fingers laced through his. It felt natural. Right. What happens now? Now we go to the hospital, get officially checked out, then we go back to school and watch everyone lose their minds. About us. About everything. The blizzard, the rescue, Brennan getting arrested. The Hells Angels showing up? She grinned. By Monday, we're going to be the most famous people in the county. I don't want to be famous. Too bad. You're a hero now, farm boy. Better get used to it. A commotion near the parking lot entrance caught their attention. A truck was pulling in, moving fast horn blaring. Mason recognized it. His mother's truck. Oh no. Sarah Cole was out of the vehicle before it fully stopped. 5'2" work-worn hands face carved by years of struggle. She looked around frantically until her eyes found Mason. Then she was running. Mason James Cole. She hit him like a freight train, arms wrapping around him so tight he couldn't breathe. Mom, I'm okay. You walked into a blizzard. They called me at work and said you were missing and presumed. Her voice broke. I thought I lost you. I'm okay, I promise. I'm fine. She pulled back her hands on his face, checking for damage. Then she saw Lily standing there. Who's this? Mom, this is Lily Hawkins. She's the one I went to find. Sarah's expression flickered. Recognition, wariness. Everyone in the county knew the Hawkins name. You're Grizz Hawkins' daughter. Yes, ma'am. My son risked his life for you. Yes, ma'am, and I'll never be able to repay him. Sarah stared at her for a long moment. Then unexpectedly she smiled. You don't have to repay him. He did what was right. That's how I raised him. You raised him well, ma'am. He saved my life. He also nearly gave me a heart attack, but we'll discuss that later. Sarah turned back to Mason. The hospital. Now, I need doctors to tell me you're okay before I believe it. Mom, there's something you need to know first. Whatever it is, it can wait. No, it can't. Mason took a breath. The farm, the mortgage, it's paid off. Sarah went still. What? Grizz Hawkins paid it off, the whole thing. We don't owe the bank anything anymore. That's not possible. That's almost $50,000. I know. Why would he? We don't even know him. Because I saved his daughter. He said it's paying a debt. He said that's how things work in his world. Sarah looked at Lily, at the bikers across the lot, at Grizz who was watching them with unreadable eyes. I can't accept that. It's too much. We're not charity. It's not charity, Mom. It's honor. That's what he said. Mason took her hands. The farm is ours, free and clear. You don't have to work 3 jobs anymore. You don't have to worry. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She'd been holding everything together for so long. The grief, the fear, the crushing weight of debt and responsibility. And now suddenly, impossibly, the weight was gone. Mrs. Cole, Grizz had approached silently. He stood a respectful distance away, hands visible, posture non-threatening. Mr. Hawkins, Sarah's voice was steady despite the tears. My son tells me you paid off our mortgage. Yes, ma'am. That's a lot of money. Your son saved my daughter's life. There's no amount of money that covers that. But this is a start. We don't need charity. Good, because I don't give charity. Grizz's expression softened, just slightly. I pay debts, Mrs. Cole, and I protect the people who protect mine. Your son is one of those people now. That means your family is under my protection. Not because you need it, but because you've earned it. Sarah stared at him, this terrifying man with tattoos and scars and a reputation that scared grown men. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't, not yet. Trust is earned. Grizz met her eyes. But I'll tell you this, I've got a daughter about your son's age. If someone saved her life like Mason saved Lily's, I'd give them everything I had, everything. And it still wouldn't be enough. Sarah wiped her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say thank you, then go take care of your boy. He's had a rough night. She nodded slowly. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Call me Grizz, and thank your son. He's a good man. You should be proud. I am. Sarah looked at Mason. More than he knows. The moment broke when an ambulance pulled up. Paramedics rushed out, heading for Lily. Ma'am, we need to transport you to the hospital for a full workup. I'm fine, really. Doctor's orders, ma'am. Your father insisted. Lily rolled her eyes. Of course he did. She looked at Mason. You're coming too. I don't need... You spent a night in a snow cave in sub-zero temperatures. You're getting checked out. She grabbed his hand. Besides, I'm not letting you out of my sight. Mason looked at his mother. She nodded. Go. I'll follow in the truck. Mom. Go, Mason. I need a minute anyway. She wiped her eyes again. Got to process the fact that my son is apparently a hero now. I'm not a hero. You are to me. Always have been. She hugged him one more time. Now go, before I start crying again. Mason climbed into the ambulance with Lily. The doors closed. The sirens started. Through the window, he watched the ranger station shrink away. The police cars, the news vans, the line of Hell's Angels bikes. 24 hours ago, he'd been nobody. Now he was Pac. He still wasn't sure what that meant. But looking at Lily beside him, her hand in his, her eyes bright, despite everything she'd been through, he had a feeling he was about to find out. The ambulance turned onto the main road. The mountain disappeared behind them. But the story was just beginning. Back at the ranger station, Chad Morrison stood with the other students watching the ambulance drive away. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. He'd spent 4 years making Mason Cole's life miserable, calling him farm boy, mocking his clothes, his poverty, his invisibility. Now that invisible kid was riding in an ambulance with Lily Hawkins, protected by the Hell's Angels, being called a hero on live television. And Chad's father was already on the phone with lawyers trying to figure out how to spin this so his son didn't look like the coward he was. This isn't over, Chad muttered. But even as he said it, he knew he was lying. It was over. He just didn't know how badly yet. At the hospital, Mason and Lily were separated for examinations. Different rooms, different doctors. Same diagnosis, mild hypothermia, minor frostbite, nothing permanent. Mason sat on the examination table shirtless while a nurse checked his vitals. You're lucky, she said. Another few hours out there, and we'd be having a very different conversation. I know. That girl you saved. Hawkins' girl. The nurse lowered her voice. You know who her father is. I do now. And you still went after her into a blizzard without knowing if she'd even want to be saved. She needed help. Nobody else was going. The nurse shook her head. You're either the bravest kid I've ever met or the dumbest. Probably both. She laughed. Fair enough. You're cleared to go. Take it easy for a few days. No more blizzards. I'll try. Mason pulled his shirt back on and stepped into the hallway. Lily was already there waiting. Clean bill of health. More or less, same. She fell into step beside him. My dad's got a private room set up. Says we need to rest before the circus starts. Circus. Reporters, school officials, police interviews, everyone wants the story. She grimaced. Welcome to my life. Sounds exhausting. It is, but you get used to it. They walked in silence for a moment. Then Lily stopped. Mason. Yeah. Thank you. I know I've said it already, but thank you for coming after me, for not giving up, for everything. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She stepped closer. Nobody's ever done anything like that for me. People see my dad's jacket, my last name, and they either want something from me or they're too scared to get close. But you didn't care about any of that. You just saw someone who needed help. I saw you. Yeah. Her voice was soft. You did. She kissed him. Not long, not dramatic. Just her lips on his soft and warm tasting, like hospital coffee, and something sweeter underneath. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. That's a down payment, she said, for saving my life. I thought your dad already paid that debt. He paid his debt. This is mine. Mason felt his face flush. I don't know what to say. Say you'll have dinner with me tomorrow night, after all this craziness dies down. Like a date. Exactly like a date, she grinned, unless you're scared of being seen with the biker princess. I just survived a blizzard. I think I can handle dinner. Good answer, farm boy. She took his hand and led him down the hallway toward whatever came next. Behind them, through a window, the sun was setting over the mountains, the same mountains that had tried to kill him, the same mountains they'd conquered together. Mason didn't know what the future held, didn't know if he and Lily would last a week or a lifetime, didn't know what being Pac really meant or how his life would change. But he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't invisible anymore, and he never would be again. Monday morning came like a freight train. Mason pulled into the school parking lot and immediately knew something was wrong. Every head turned, every conversation stopped. 300 students staring at his beat-up truck like he'd arrived in a spaceship. Here we go, he muttered. He'd barely stepped out when the first person approached, then the second, then a crowd. Oh my God, Mason, is it true? Did you really build a snow cave? Are you dating Lily Hawkins? Is her dad really in the Hells Angels? Did Brennan really get arrested? Mason pushed through the crowd, head down, saying nothing. His grandfather's voice echoed in his memory. When everyone's talking, be the one who listens. When everyone's watching, be the one who works. He made it to his locker, opened it, tried to breathe. Rough morning. Lily appeared beside him in leather jacket, gleaming blonde hair. Perfect looking, like she'd slept 12 hours instead of the 3 they had actually managed. How do you do this? Mason asked. Every day. Practice. She leaned against the locker next to his. You get used to being stared at, eventually. I don't think I want to get used to it. Too bad. You're famous now, farm boy. She grinned. The news ran your story all weekend. Local hero saves classmate in blizzard. They even got your school photo, the one where you look like you're being held at gunpoint. I hate that photo. Everyone hates their school photo. That's the rule. The warning bell rang. Students started moving toward classrooms, but the stares didn't stop. Walk me to class, Lily asked. People will talk. People are already talking. Might as well give them something real to talk about. She took his hand, right there in the hallway, in front of everyone. Mason felt his face flush, but he didn't let go. They walked together through the crowded hallway, and the sea of students parted around them. Whispers followed like a wave. Did you see holding hands? Her dad will kill him. No way that's real. Lily ignored all of it. Mason tried to do the same. They reached her classroom. She turned to face him. Lunch, library, our spot. We don't have a spot. We do now. She squeezed his hand. The corner table by the window. I'll bring food. You don't have to. I want to. Her eyes softened. Let me take care of you for once, okay? You've earned it. She disappeared into the classroom before he could argue. Mason stood there for a moment, stunned, before realizing he was going to be late for his own class. He ran. First period was AP Biology, Mason's best subject, usually. Today he couldn't focus. Every time he looked up, someone was staring. Every time he looked down, his phone buzzed with texts from numbers he didn't recognize. Mr. Cole? Mrs. Patterson's voice cut through his distraction. Would you like to share with the class why cellular respiration is suddenly less interesting than your phone? Sorry, ma'am, won't happen again. See that it doesn't? But her expression softened. And Mr. Cole, I heard about what happened. What you did was very brave. The class murmured. Mason wanted to sink through the floor. Thank you, ma'am. Now, back to the mitochondria. The lesson continued. Mason tried to pay attention, failed, gave up, and started making a list of everything that had changed in the last 72 hours. 1, he'd survived a blizzard. 2, he'd saved Lily Hawkins' life. 3, the farm was paid off. 4, he was under the protection of the Hells Angels. He had a date with the most dangerous girl in school. His life had gone completely insane, and it was about to get worse. The door opened. Principal Warren stepped in, face grim. Mason Cole, I need you to come with me. The class erupted in whispers. Mason gathered his things, heart pounding. Am I in trouble? We'll discuss it in my office. That wasn't a no. Mason followed the principal down the empty hallway, mind racing. What had he done? The Blizzard rescue was heroic, not criminal. Brennan was the one who'd been arrested, unless they reached the office. Principal Warren opened the door. Inside, Mason's mother sat in one of the visitor chairs, face pale, and across from her, behind the principal's desk, sat a man in an expensive suit. Gray hair, cold eyes, an air of money so thick you could smell it. Mason, Principal Warren gestured to an empty chair. Please sit down. This is Richard Morrison. Chad Morrison's father. Mason's stomach dropped. Mr. Morrison has some concerns he'd like to discuss. Concerns. Richard Morrison's voice was ice. That's one word for it. Richard, Principal Warren started. I'll handle this, Janet. Morrison turned to Mason and his expression made clear that nothing good was coming. So, you're the farm boy who's been all over the news. Yes, sir. The hero who saved the Hawkins girl. I don't think of it that way, sir. No, how do you think of it? Mason met his eyes, didn't flinch. I think of it as doing what needed to be done when nobody else would. Morrison's jaw tightened. My son tells a different story. I'm sure he does. He says you abandoned the group, put yourself at risk unnecessarily, made the situation more dangerous for everyone. Your son wasn't in the blizzard, sir. He was drinking hot chocolate by the fire. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Watch your tone, boy. Richard. Sarah Cole's voice cut in sharp as a blade. You don't get to talk to my son that way. Not in front of me. Mrs. Cole, with all due respect. No respect. Sarah stood up, 5'2" of pure maternal fury. My son risked his life to save someone. Your son hid in a lodge and made jokes about it. Those are the facts. Now say what you came to say and get out. Morrison's face went red. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by a woman from a broke farm in the middle of nowhere. Fine, I'll be direct. He turned back to Mason. I'm filing a complaint with the school board. Your actions on that mountain were reckless and irresponsible. You violated direct orders from a teacher. You endangered yourself and potentially others. There need to be consequences. Consequences, Mason laughed. He couldn't help it. Mr. Brennan is in jail. His career is over. And you're worried about consequences for me. Brennan was doing his job. Brennan left a student to die. He made a judgment call in an emergency situation. He made the wrong call. I made the right one. That's the difference. Morrison stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. You arrogant little... Richard, Principal Warren's voice was firm. That's enough. Sit down. I will not be spoken to this way by some dirt-poor farm kid who got lucky. Sit down. Something in Warren's tone made Morrison pause. He sat, reluctantly. I've reviewed the incident thoroughly, Warren continued. I've spoken with the police, the search and rescue team, and multiple witnesses. Mason Cole's actions saved a student's life. Period. There will be no disciplinary action. The school board agrees with me. I spoke with them this morning. Warren's expression hardened. And frankly, Richard, if you push this any further, there are going to be questions about why your son stood by and did nothing while a classmate froze to death. Morrison's face went from red to white. That's not fair. Chad was following orders. So was every Nazi soldier at Nuremberg. Mason heard the words leave his mouth before he could stop them. Mason, his mother's hand on his arm. Warning, no, Mom, I'm tired of this. Mason stood up. Mr. Morrison, your son is a bully. He's been making my life miserable for 4 years, calling me names, mocking my clothes, reminding me every day that I don't belong. And when someone actually needed help, he sat on his hands and cracked jokes. I was there, I heard him. Maybe the farm boy and the biker princess deserve each other. That's what he said while Lily was dying in the snow. Silence. Morrison's face was stone, but something flickered behind his eyes. Doubt, maybe even shame. This conversation is over, he said quietly. But mark my words, Cole. You've made an enemy today. I've had enemies my whole life, sir. One more won't make a difference. Morrison gathered his coat and walked out without another word. The door closed. The tension didn't. Mason, Principal Warren sighed. I understand your frustration, But you can't antagonize powerful people like Richard Morrison. He started it. And you should have been the one to end it, gracefully. She rubbed her temples. Go back to class. Try to stay out of trouble. And please, for my sake, don't make any more speeches about Nazis. Yes, ma'am. Mason and his mother walked out together. In the hallway, she grabbed his arm. What were you thinking? I was thinking he deserved it. He did, but that doesn't mean you should have said it. She pulled him into a hug anyway. I'm proud of you. Terrified for you, but proud. I'm sorry, Mom. Don't be sorry. Just be careful. She pulled back, eyes wet. Richard Morrison isn't the kind of man who forgets, and he's definitely not the kind who forgives. I know. Do you really, then? Mason thought about Grizz's card in his wallet, the protection he'd been promised, the army of bikers who now considered him family. I think I'll be okay, Mom. I hope so, baby. She wiped her eyes. I really hope so. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. More stares, more whispers, more texts from unknown numbers. By the time lunch came, Mason was ready to crawl out of his skin. He made his way to the library to the corner table by the window. Lily was already there, 2 brown bags in front of her. You look terrible, she said. Thanks. I mean it. What happened? Mason sat down heavily. Chad's father tried to get me expelled. What? Richard Morrison came to the principal's office, called me reckless, said there should be consequences for saving your life. Lily's expression went cold. A look Mason hadn't seen before, something dangerous. What did Warren say? She shut him down. But Morrison made it clear this isn't over. Of course it isn't. Lily pulled out her phone. Give me 1 second. What are you doing? Calling my dad. Lily, no, I can handle this. I know you can, but you shouldn't have to. She was already dialing. Dad. Yeah, it's me. We have a problem. Mason listened as she explained the situation. Her voice was calm, clinical, like she was reporting battlefield intelligence instead of a school board dispute. Richard Morrison, she said, Chad's father. He went after Mason, tried to get him expelled. A pause while Grizz responded. Mason couldn't hear the words, but he could hear the tone. Low, dangerous. No, Warren handled it, but Morrison's not backing down. He made threats. Another pause. Okay, yeah, I'll tell him. She hung up. My dad wants to talk to you tonight. Can you come to the clubhouse? The Hells Angels clubhouse? It's not as scary as it sounds. It sounds pretty scary. Lily smiled. You survived a blizzard with me. You can survive dinner with my family. That's what I'm afraid of. Relax, farm boy. She pushed one of the brown bags toward him. Eat. You're going to need your strength. Mason opened the bag. Inside it was the best sandwich he'd ever seen. Fresh bread, real meat, actual vegetables that weren't wilted or brown. Where did you get this? I made it. You cook. I do a lot of things people don't expect. She grinned. Surprise. They ate together in comfortable silence. Around them, the library hummed with quiet activity. Students studying, librarians shelving books. The normal rhythm of high school life. But nothing was normal anymore. Can I ask you something? Mason said. Sure. This thing between us, whatever it is it real? Or is it just trauma bonding, adrenaline? Something that'll fade when things go back to normal. Lily set down her sandwich, looked at him seriously. You want the honest answer, always. I don't know. She held up a hand before he could respond. But here's what I do know. I've never felt this comfortable with anyone. Ever. Not friends, not family, nobody. And I've been around some dangerous men in my life, but none of them make me feel as safe as you do. I'm not dangerous. That's exactly why. She reached across the table, took his hand. You have nothing to prove, Mason. No ego, no agenda. You just are. And that's the most attractive thing I've ever seen. Mason felt his heart hammering. I don't know what I'm doing, Lily. I've never had a girlfriend. Never been on a real date. Never, neither have I. What? Boys don't date the biker's daughter. Remember, her smile was sad. You're my first 2, farm boy, so we'll figure it out together. Okay. Good. She squeezed his hand. Now finish your sandwich. We have 5th period in 10 minutes. They ate, they talked, they laughed about stupid things that didn't matter. And for a few minutes, Mason forgot about Richard Morrison, about the stares and whispers, about everything except the girl across from him. It couldn't last. Fifth period was English, Mason's least favorite subject. Mrs. Hendricks was a good teacher, but she had a habit of cold calling students who looked distracted. Today, Mason was very distracted. "Mr. Cole," he jerked upright. "Ma'am, since you're clearly fascinated by whatever's happening outside that window, perhaps you can tell us about the theme of isolation in The Great Gatsby." Mason's mind raced. He'd read the book, sort of. Gatsby isolates himself from his past, creates a new identity, becomes someone else because who he was wasn't good enough. Mrs. Hendricks raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "But it doesn't work. You can't outrun who you are. Eventually the past catches up, and when it does, everything falls apart." The class was silent. Mrs. Hendricks nodded slowly. "Very insightful, Mr. Cole. Perhaps you should daydream more often." Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Mason slumped back in his seat, but the words stuck with him. "You can't outrun who you are. Eventually the past catches up." Was that true? Could he really become someone new? Someone who dated Lily Hawkins and dined with Hell's Angels and stood up to billionaires? Or was he still just a poor farm kid playing a role he wasn't meant to play? The bell rang. Students flooded into the hallway. Mason was gathering his books when a shadow fell over his desk. Chad Morrison. "Hey, farm boy." Mason stood up slowly. Chad was bigger than him, wider, a lifetime of private trainers and protein shakes. But Mason had something Chad didn't. He wasn't afraid. "What do you want, Chad?" "Just wanted to congratulate you, really." Chad's smile was poison. "You fooled everyone. The hero act, the rescue story, even got Lily Hawkins to pretend she likes you. Pretty impressive for a guy who smells like cow manure. Is there a point to this?" "The point is, I know what you are. You're nothing. A nobody who got lucky. And when Lily realizes it, and you'll go right back to being invisible." "Well, maybe. Definitely." Mason stepped closer, close enough that Chad had to look down at him. "Here's the thing, Chad. I've been invisible my whole life. I know how to survive in the shadows. But you've been the center of attention since the day you were born. What happens when that goes away? When people stop caring about your daddy's money and your fancy clothes? That's never going to happen. It already is. You're standing in a hallway threatening the guy everyone calls a hero. How do you think that looks?" Chad's face reddened, his fists clenched. "Go ahead." Mason didn't move. "Hit me, right here, in front of witnesses. See how that works out for you." For a long moment, nobody breathed. Then Chad stepped back. "This isn't over." "You're right, it's not. But it will be. And when it is, I'll still be standing." Mason picked up his bag. "Have a nice day, Chad." He walked out of the classroom without looking back. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. But he'd done it. He had stood his ground against the bully who'd tormented him for 4 years. And he hadn't needed anyone to save him. That evening, Mason drove to the Hell's Angels clubhouse. It was outside of town down a gravel road that didn't appear on any map. A large building surrounded by fences and security cameras and enough motorcycles to supply a small army. Mason parked his truck next to a row of gleaming Harleys, felt immediately out of place. "You made it." Lily appeared from the main building dressed in jeans and a leather jacket that probably cost more than Mason's truck. "I almost didn't, but you did." She took his hand. "Come on, Dad's waiting." Inside the clubhouse was nothing like Mason expected. Clean, well-organized, more like a VFW hall than a biker bar. Men played pool in one corner. Others watched football on a big screen TV. A few sat at the bar drinking beers and trading stories. Every single one of them stopped when Mason walked in. "Relax," Lily murmured. "They're just curious. They're staring at me like I'm dinner." "You're the guy who saved their president's daughter. Of course they're curious." She led him toward a door in the back. "But once they get to know you, they'll love you. Trust me." "I'm not sure I trust anything right now." "Then trust me." She opened the door. Inside was an office, neat desk, American flag on the wall, military citations in frames, and Grizz Hawkins sitting behind the desk like a king on his throne. "Mason, thanks for coming." "Thank you for inviting me, sir." "Sit down, let's talk." Lily squeezed Mason's hand and stepped outside, closing the door behind her. Mason sat. Grizz studied him for a long moment, those hard eyes missing nothing. Lily told me about Richard Morrison. Yes, sir. He's a problem. I got that impression. Do you know what he does for a living? Real estate, I think. My mother mentioned his company owns half the commercial properties in the county. That's right, but that's not all he does. Grizz leaned forward. Richard Morrison is Dirty Mason. Has been for years. Money laundering, tax fraud, bribing officials. Nothing that's ever been proven, but everyone in certain circles knows. Why are you telling me this? Because he's going to come after you. Not directly, he's too smart for that. But he'll find ways to make your life difficult. Your mother's life, your farm. Mason's blood went cold. He can do that. He can try. Grizz's expression hardened. But here's what he doesn't know. You're not alone anymore. You've got the angels behind you, and we protect our own. I appreciate that, sir, but I don't want to start a war. You didn't start it. Morrison did. The moment he walked into that principal's office and threatened you, he declared war. Grizz stood up, walked around the desk. I've dealt with men like him my whole life. Men who think money makes them untouchable. They're wrong. Money just makes the fall harder. What are you going to do? Nothing? Yet. Grizz put a hand on Mason's shoulder. But I want you to understand something. If Morrison crosses a line, any line you tell me, don't try to handle it yourself. Don't be a hero. Just call. I will, sir. Good. Grizz's expression softened. Now, enough business. My daughter tells me you're having dinner with us tonight. If that's still okay. It's more than okay, it's required. A rare smile crossed his face. She hasn't stopped talking about you since the mountain. That means something. She means something to me too, sir. I know, I can see it. Grizz walked toward the door. Come on, let's eat. And Mason. Yes, sir. Call me Grizz. Sir makes me feel old. Mason followed him out of the office into the main hall where Lily was waiting with a smile that made everything else fade away. Dinner was not what Mason expected. The Hells Angels gathered around long tables passing plates of food like a family reunion. Grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, homemade bread. Who cooked all this? Mason asked. Axe, Lily said, pointing at the massive sergeant-at-arms. Former Army cook. He takes it very seriously. The food or the cooking? Both. Last guy who complained about his pot roast ended up cleaning the bathrooms for a month. Mason decided he would compliment everything no matter what it tasted like. It was delicious, all of it. As the meal went on, Mason found himself relaxing. These men weren't what he expected. They were veterans mostly. Guys with tattoos and scars who told stories about their service, their families, their struggles. They weren't criminals. They were warriors. Broken men who'd found a family when the world had abandoned them. Just like Mason. Hey, kid. An older man with a gray beard leaned over. I'm Diesel. Heard you built a Quincy in that storm. Yes, sir. My dad taught me that trick. Back in Vietnam. Never thought I'd hear about some high school kid pulling it off. My grandfather taught me. Smart man, your grandfather. He was, Diesel nodded slowly. You ever need anything, kid, anything at all, you come find me. Brothers help brothers. Thank you, sir. Diesel, just Diesel. Thank you, Diesel. The meal continued. Stories were told. Laughter echoed off the walls. And Mason, the invisible farm boy who'd never belonged to anywhere, found himself feeling something he'd never expected. Home. Later, after the dishes were cleared and the tables wiped down, Lily walked Mason to his truck. So, she said, survived your first dinner with the family. Barely. You did great. They like you. How can you tell? Diesel talked to you. He doesn't talk to anyone. She grinned. You're basically a member now. I don't ride a motorcycle. We'll fix that. She stepped closer. Thank you for coming. I know it was scary. Everything's been scary lately. But you keep doing it anyway. That's what courage is. She kissed him. Longer this time. Deeper. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. Tomorrow, after school, I'm teaching you to ride. A motorcycle? You're packed now, Mason Cole. Time to act like it. She walked back toward the clubhouse, leather jacket catching the moonlight. Mason watched her go. Then he climbed into his truck and drove home, heart full of something he couldn't name. The stars were out, the road was empty, the world was quiet. But somewhere in the darkness, Richard Morrison was making plans, and the real storm was just beginning. 2 weeks later, Richard Morrison made his move. Mason found out the way everyone finds out bad news in a small town. His mother called him during lunch, voice shaking so hard he could barely understand the words. They canceled it. All of it. Mom, slow down. What got canceled? The feed contract, Henderson's general store, the equipment loan from the co-op. A sob broke through. Everyone's backing out Mason, everyone we do business with. They're all saying the same thing. What thing, that they can't afford to be associated with us anymore. That it's too risky. Another sob. Someone's been talking to them, threatening them. I know it. Mason's blood went cold. He looked across the cafeteria where Chad Morrison sat with his friends laughing at something on his phone. Chad caught his eye, smiled, raised his drink in a mock toast. Mom, I'll handle this. How, Mason, we need those contracts. Without the feed supplier, we can't. I said I'll handle it. He hung up. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. Lily appeared beside him. What's wrong? Morrison, he's going after my family's business, calling our suppliers, our partners, threatening them to cut ties. That son of a, I have to do something. What are you going to do? Go punch Chad in the face. That's exactly what they want. I don't care what they want. Mason, Lily grabbed his arm, forced him to look at her. Think. Richard Morrison has been playing this game for 30 years. He knows how to destroy people without leaving fingerprints. If you react emotionally, you lose. So what, I'm supposed to just let him ruin my family? No, you're supposed to let my dad handle it. This isn't his fight. Yes, it is. Your pack now. Your fights are our fights. She pulled out her phone. Give me 10 minutes. Don't do anything stupid. She walked away, already dialing. Mason sat there, fists clenched, watching Chad Morrison enjoy his lunch like he hadn't just tried to destroy a family. 10 minutes felt like 10 hours. Lily came back, face grim but determined. My dad's on it. He's making calls. What kind of calls? The kind that get results. Lily, trust the process, Mason. I know it's hard, but my dad has dealt with men like Morrison before. He knows what he's doing. Mason wanted to believe her. He really did. But watching Chad smirk at him across the cafeteria, he wasn't sure trust was enough. The rest of the day was torture. Mason couldn't focus. Couldn't think. Every time his phone buzzed, he expected more bad news. By 6th period, he'd bitten his nails down to nothing. Mr. Cole, he looked up. Mr. Hendricks, the economics teacher, was staring at him. You've been somewhere else all day. Everything okay? Fine, sir, just tired. Tired. Hendricks didn't look convinced. See me after class. Great, one more problem. When the bell rang, Mason stayed behind. Hendricks closed the door. Sit down, Mason. Mason sat. I heard about what's happening. The contracts, the suppliers. Hendricks leaned against his desk. Small town, word travels. Yes, sir. I also know who's behind it. Mason's head snapped up. Sir, Richard Morrison and I went to high school together. He was a bully then, too. Different methods, same result. Hendricks sighed. I can't prove anything, of course. He's too smart for that. But I want you to know not everyone in this town is afraid of him. What does that mean? It means I made some calls of my own to people who owe me favors, people who don't like Morrison any more than I do. A small smile. Your feed contract might not be as canceled as you think. Mason felt something loosen in his chest. Mr. Hendricks, don't thank me. Just keep your head down and your grades up. And Mason, yes, sir. What you did on that mountain that took real courage. Don't let men like Morrison make you forget who you are. I won't, sir. Mason walked out of the classroom feeling lighter than he had all day. Maybe he wasn't as alone as he thought. After school, Mason drove to the clubhouse. Grizz was waiting for him in the main hall surrounded by half a dozen Hell's Angels. Their expressions were serious, battle-ready. You heard, Mason said. I heard. Grizz gestured to a chair. Sit. Let's talk strategy. Mason sat. The bikers arranged themselves around the room like generals planning a campaign. Richard Morrison is a snake, Grizz began. But snakes have weaknesses. They get comfortable, sloppy. They think their venom makes them invincible. What's his weakness? His ego and his son. Grizz leaned forward. Chad Morrison got arrested last summer. DUI, hit and run, injured a pedestrian. I never heard about that. Well, because Daddy made it disappear. Paid off the victim, paid off the cops, paid off the judge. Grizz's eyes hardened. But records exist. Witnesses exist. Evidence exists. You just have to know where to look. You're going to blackmail him. I'm going to remind him that glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Grizz pulled out a folder. This is everything we have on Richard Morrison. Tax irregularities, building code violations. That incident with his son, it's not enough for prosecution, but it's enough for the news. You'd really do that? I'd do a lot more than that for family. Grizz handed him the folder. But I'm not going to use it. You are. What? You're going to meet with Richard and Morrison, face to face, man to man. You're going to show him this folder and explain that if he doesn't back off, every newspaper in the state will have a copy by morning. Mason's stomach turned. I'm not a blackmailer. No, you're a negotiator. There's a difference. Grizz's voice softened. I know this isn't who you are, Mason. I know you'd rather solve problems with honesty and hard work. But men like Morrison don't respond to honesty. They only understand power. And if I do this, what does that make me? It makes you smart. It makes you protected. It makes you someone who does whatever it takes to protect his family. Grizz put a hand on his shoulder. You don't have to become Morrison to beat him. You just have to show him you're not afraid. Mason looked at the folder, at the documents inside, at the power they represented. He thought about his mother crying on the phone, about the farm they'd almost lost once, about everything his family had sacrificed just to survive. When do I meet him? Grizz smiled. Tonight, 7 o'clock, his office downtown. He already agreed. He agreed to meet me. He thinks he's going to threaten you into submission, make you cry, beg for mercy. Grizz's smile widened. He doesn't know you very well. No, Mason said quietly. He doesn't. At 6:45, Mason pulled into the parking lot of Morrison Development Group. The building was everything you'd expect from a man like Richard Morrison. Glass and steel, cold and imposing, a monument to ego. Mason's truck looked pathetic next to the luxury cars in the lot. He didn't care. He grabbed the folder and walked inside. The lobby was empty except for a security guard who looked at him like he was lost. Help you. I have a meeting with Mr. Morrison. Name and Mason Cole. The guard checked his list, raised an eyebrow. Top floor. Elevator's on your right. Thanks. The elevator ride felt endless. Mason's heart was pounding. His palms were sweating, but his mind was clear. He knew what he had to do. The doors opened. A receptionist looked up. Mr. Cole, Mr. Morrison is expecting you. Go right in. Mason walked past her through a set of heavy doors into an office that probably cost more to furnish than his family's entire farm. Richard Morrison sat behind a massive desk backlit by floor-to-ceiling windows. Power move, classic intimidation. Mason wasn't intimidated. Sit down, Mr. Cole. I'll stand. Morrison's eye twitched, not used to being refused. Suit yourself. Do you know why I asked you here? You didn't ask, I did. And excuse me. Mason set the folder on Morrison's desk. Open it. Morrison stared at him for a long moment, then slowly he opened the folder. His face went from curious to confused to pale in about 3 seconds. Where did you get this? Does it matter? This is private information. Confidential. If you stole, I didn't steal anything. I just asked the right questions to the right people. Mason leaned forward. You thought you could destroy my family. Squeeze our suppliers, threaten our partners, make us disappear. I don't know what you're... Don't. Mason's voice was ice. Don't lie to me. Not now. Not when we both know exactly what you've done. Morrison closed the folder. His hands were trembling. What do you want? I want you to reverse everything. Every call you made. Every threat you issued. I want our contracts restored by the end of the week. And if I refuse, then that folder goes to every newspaper, every TV station, and every law enforcement agency in the state. By Friday, your son will be in prison, your company will be under investigation, and your reputation will be worth less than the paper it's printed on. Morrison's face contorted. Rage, fear, humiliation, all fighting for dominance. You're bluffing. Am I? Mason pulled out his phone. I have 3 reporters on speed dial, one from the Tribune, one from Channel 7, one from the State Attorney General's office. You want me to call them right now? We can find out together if I'm bluffing. Silence stretched between them. Morrison broke first. You think you've won? You think this is over? His voice was barely a whisper. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I've destroyed men 10 times more powerful than you. Maybe, but those men didn't have the Hells Angels backing them up. Mason smiled, cold, hard. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to make those calls. You're going to fix what you broke. And then you're going to stay the hell away from me, my family, and everyone I care about. Forever. And if I don't, then we'll have this conversation again. And next time I won't come alone. Mason turned and walked toward the door. Cole. He stopped, but didn't turn around. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. He walked out. The elevator doors closed behind him, and only then did Mason let himself breathe. By the time he reached his truck, his hands were shaking so hard he could barely grip the keys. He'd done it. He'd actually done it. He'd faced down Richard Morrison in his own office and won. His phone buzzed. Lily. How did it go? I think it worked. Of course it worked. You're a badass, Mason Cole. I don't feel like a badass. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's normal. Dad threw up after his first real negotiation. Said it meant his conscience was still working. Great, so I'm traumatized but moral. The best combination. Her voice softened. Come to the clubhouse. We're celebrating. There's nothing to celebrate yet. Yes, there is. You stood up for yourself. You protected your family. You didn't back down. A pause. That's worth celebrating, Mason, always. He leaned his head against the steering wheel. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'll be waiting. She hung up. Mason sat there in the parking lot of Morrison Development, staring up at the building where he'd just changed everything. He thought about who he'd been 2 weeks ago. The invisible farm boy, the scholarship kid, the nobody who ate lunch alone in the library. That person felt like a stranger now. Mason started his truck and drove toward the clubhouse, toward Lily, toward whatever came next. Behind him in his corner office, Richard Morrison made a phone call. It's me. We have a problem. A big one. The voice on the other end was calm, professional. What kind of problem? The Cole kid. He's got leverage, real leverage, and he's connected to the Hells Angels. So handle it. That's what I pay you for. You don't understand. These bikers, they're not normal criminals. They're organized, protected. If I move against them directly, then don't move directly. Find another way. What other way? A long pause. The boy has a mother, the girl has a heart. Everyone has a weakness, Richard. Find theirs. The line went dead. Morrison stared at his phone, mind racing. He'd underestimated Mason Cole once. He wouldn't make that mistake again. At the clubhouse, Mason was welcomed like a conquering hero. Bikers slapped his back, pressed beers into his hands, told him he'd done good, that he'd made them proud. Lily was waiting by the bar, smile bright enough to light up the room. Look at you, farm boy, taking down billionaires before dinner. He's not a billionaire. Close enough. She handed him a beer. My dad wants to talk to you, private. Good talk or bad talk? Good, definitely good. Mason made his way to Grizz's office. The door was open. Grizz stood by the window looking out at the parking lot. You did well tonight, Mason. I did what I had to do. That's what separates men from boys. Grizz turned to face him. Doing what has to be done, even when it's hard. Even when it scares you. I was terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Grizz walked to his desk, pulled out a wooden box. I have something for you. He opened the box. Inside, on a bed of black velvet, was a leather vest. Plain, simple. But on the back, embroidered in silver thread, was the Hells Angels patch. Is this what I think it is? Honorary member. You're not a full patch that takes years, but you're recognized, protected, part of something bigger than yourself. Grizz held out the vest. You've earned it. Mason took it with trembling hands. The leather was soft, worn. This wasn't new, it had belonged to someone else. Whose was this? My brother's, Danny. He died in Iraq 15 years ago. IED took out his whole convoy. Grizz's voice was steady, but something flickered in his eyes. I've been saving it, waiting for someone worthy to wear it. Sir Grizz, I can't accept this. Yes, you can. Danny would have liked you. He was like you. Quiet, brave. Did the right thing when everyone else ran. Grizz put a hand on Mason's shoulder. Wear it with honor, son. Make us proud. Mason slipped on the vest. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for him. Thank you. I don't have words. You don't need words, just actions. Grizz smiled. Now go, your girl's waiting. And I think we've had enough drama for one night. Mason walked out of the office in a daze. Lily saw the vest and her hand flew to her mouth. That's Uncle Danny's. Your dad gave it to me. Mason. Tears were forming in her eyes. Do you understand what that means? I think so. No, you don't. She took his hands. That vest is sacred. Dad hasn't let anyone touch it in 15 years. Not even me. She looked at him with something like awe. He really believes in you. Like really believes. I don't know if I deserve it. That's exactly why you do. She kissed him soft and sweet. You're one of us now, Mason Cole. For real. Forever. Around them, the clubhouse erupted in cheers. Mason held Lily close, the leather vest warm against his skin, and for the first time in his life, he felt like he truly belonged somewhere. But in the back of his mind, a warning whispered. Morrison hadn't given up. Men like that never did. And the real battle was still coming. 3 days later, the contracts were restored. Henderson's General Store called personally to apologize. The feed supplier sent extra product at a discount. The co-op expedited the equipment loan. Word spread fast. Richard Morrison had backed down. The farm boy had won. At school, the dynamic shifted overnight. Kids who'd ignored Mason for 4 years suddenly wanted to be his friend. Teachers who dismissed him started paying attention. Even Chad Morrison kept his distance, avoiding eye contact in the hallways. You're famous, Lily said at lunch. Again. I don't want to be famous. Too bad. You keep doing heroic things. Comes with the territory. Standing up to a bully isn't heroic. It is when the bully has lawyers and money and political connections. She grinned. Accept it, farm boy. You're a legend now. Mason shook his head, but he couldn't help smiling. Maybe things were finally going to be okay. Then his phone rang, unknown number. Hello, Mason Cole. A woman's voice. Professional, cold. Who is this? I'm calling from First Regional Hospital. There's been an accident. Mason's heart stopped. What kind of accident? Your mother, Sarah Cole, she's been admitted to the emergency room. You need to come right away. The phone slipped from Mason's hand. The world went silent. Lily was saying something, moving toward him, but he couldn't hear her, couldn't see her. All he could think was Morrison. He did this. He went after my mother, and now everything was about to change. Mason ran every red light between the school and the hospital. Lily was in the passenger seat, one hand gripping the dashboard, the other on his arm. She hadn't let go since they left the cafeteria. She's going to be okay. Mason, listen to me. She's going to be okay. You don't know that. I know you, and I know your mom is just as tough as you are. Mason's jaw was clenched so tight his teeth ached. His mind kept cycling through the same thoughts. Morrison did this. He went after my mother. I should have killed him when I had the chance. He pulled into the hospital parking lot, slammed the truck into park, and ran. The emergency room was chaos. Nurses rushing, machines beeping, families huddled in corners waiting for news. Mason pushed through to the reception desk. Sarah Cole, she was brought in, car accident. Where is she? The receptionist looked up, startled by his intensity. Are you family? I'm her son. One moment. She typed something. Frowned. Typed again. Room 7. Down the hall, turn left. But sir, you can't just... Mason was already running. He found room 7, pushed through the door, and there was his mother. She was lying in a hospital bed, face pale, arm in a sling bandage wrapped around her head. But her eyes were open. alert, alive. Mason. He was at her side in 2 steps, grabbing her hand, tears he didn't know he had streaming down his face. Mom, what happened? Are you okay? They said accident. They said, I'm fine, baby. I'm fine. Her voice was weak but steady. Just some bruises, broken arm, little bump on the head. What happened? I was driving home from the diner. Someone ran me off the road. Her eyes darkened. Black truck, no plates, came out of nowhere. Mason's blood turned to ice. Did you see the driver? No, it happened too fast. 1 minute I was on the road, the next I was in a ditch. She squeezed his hand. But Mason, I don't think it was an accident. It wasn't. Lily's voice came from the doorway. She was on her phone, face grim. My dad just called. He's pulling traffic cam footage from the whole route. If that truck exists, we'll find it. Morrison, Mason's voice was barely human. This was Morrison. We don't know that yet. Yes, we do. He threatened me. He said everyone has a weakness. He found mine. Mason stood up, fists clenched. I'm going to kill him. Mason, his mother's hand caught his wrist, weak but firm. Look at me. He looked. You are not going to do anything stupid. Do you hear me? I didn't raise you to throw your life away on revenge. He tried to kill you, and I'm still here, alive, talking to my son. Her eyes were fierce despite the pain. Don't give him what he wants. Don't become what he thinks you are. Mom, promise me, Mason, promise me you'll let the law handle this. Mason wanted to argue, wanted to scream, wanted to burn Richard Morrison's world to the ground. But looking at his mother's face, seeing the fear behind her strength, he couldn't. I promise. Good. She relaxed slightly. Now sit down. You're making me nervous. Mason sat. Lily took the chair beside him. They waited. Grizz arrived 30 minutes later with 4 Hell's Angels. The nurses tried to stop them. One look from Grizz changed their minds. Sarah. He walked to her bedside, expression unreadable. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck, because I did. We're going to find who did this. I know. She looked at him steadily. But I need to know what you're going to do when you find them. Grizz was quiet for a moment. That depends on what they deserve. Grizz, Sarah's voice sharpened. I've seen what men do when they think violence is the answer. My husband thought he could fix everything with his hands. It got him killed. I won't watch my son go down that same road. Your son is smarter than that. Is he? Because right now he looks like he wants to tear someone apart. Grizz looked at Mason, really looked. She's right, he said finally. This needs to be handled carefully, legally. If Morrison is behind this, we'll prove it. And when we do, he'll face consequences that last a lot longer than a beating. What kind of consequences? The kind that destroy everything he's built. His company, his reputation, his freedom. Grizz's eyes hardened. Prison is worse than death for men like Morrison. Trust me. Mason wanted to believe him. He really did. But the rage inside him wasn't listening to reason. The next few days were a blur. Sarah was released from the hospital with strict orders to rest. Mason moved her to the farmhouse, set her up in the living room, and refused to leave her side. Lily came every day after school, helped with chores, cooked meals, kept Mason from losing his mind. You need to sleep, she said on the 3rd night. I can't. Mason, you have been awake for 60 hours. You're going to collapse. I'll sleep when Morrison is in handcuffs. And if that takes weeks, months. She sat beside him on the porch. You can't protect your mom if you're dead on your feet. I can try. You're the most stubborn person I've ever met. Coming from you, that's saying something. She laughed despite the tension. Fair point. They sat in silence watching the stars. My dad found the truck, Lily said finally. Mason's head snapped toward her. What? Traffic cams caught it 3 miles from the accident, registered to a shell company. But the shell company has ties to Morrison Development. That's enough for an arrest. It's enough for an investigation. My dad's lawyer is meeting with the DA tomorrow. She took his hand. It's happening, Mason. Slowly, but it's happening. Slowly isn't fast enough. I know, but it's the right way. She squeezed his hand. Your mom was right. If we go after Morrison with violence, we become what he says we are. Criminals, thugs, everything people think bikers are. I don't care what people think. Yes, you do. That's why you're so angry. She turned to face him. You spent your whole life proving you're more than what people see. The poor kid, the farm boy, the invisible nobody. And now Morrison is trying to drag you back down, to make you prove him right. Mason was quiet for a long moment. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You're just now noticing. He pulled her close. She leaned into him warm and solid and real. I love you. When the words came out before he could stop them, before he could think about whether it was too soon, too much, too everything. Lily went still. What did you say, I? Mason's heart was hammering. I love you, Lily. I don't know when it happened. Maybe when we were in that snow cave, maybe before, but I know it's real, and I know I've never felt anything like this. She pulled back, looked at him with those ice blue eyes. Say it again. I love you. Again. Lily, I love. She kissed him, deep and fierce and desperate, like she was trying to pour everything she felt into that one moment. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. I love you too, farm boy. So much it scares me. You scared, I don't believe it. Believe it. She wiped her eyes. I've never let anyone this close before. Never trusted anyone enough. But you make me want to be brave. You're the bravest person I know. No, you are. She pressed her forehead to his. You walked into a blizzard for me. You stood up to Morrison. You're sitting here exhausted and terrified, still trying to protect everyone you love. That's real courage, Mason. The kind most people never find. I found it because of you. Then we found it together. They sat there until dawn, holding each other, watching the sky turn from black to gray to gold. And for the first time since the accident, Mason felt something like hope. 1 week later, Richard Morrison was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming. Traffic cam footage, financial records linking the shell company to his personal accounts, phone records showing calls to a known criminal associate the night before the accident. Mason watched the news coverage from the hospital where his mother was getting her cast checked. Richard Morrison, prominent local developer, was taken into custody this morning on charges including attempted murder, conspiracy, and reckless endangerment. If convicted, Morrison faces up to 25 years in prison. Sarah Cole watched the screen with an expression Mason couldn't read. How do you feel? He asked. Relieved. Oh, angry. She shook her head. All of it. None of it. I don't know. He's going to pay for what he did. I know, but that doesn't undo the damage. She looked at her arm, still in a cast. I keep thinking about what could have happened. If the accident had been worse. If I hadn't been wearing my seatbelt. If, Mom, don't. I can't help it. Her voice cracked. You almost lost me, Mason. Just like we lost your father. And for what? Because some rich man couldn't handle being told no. That's not going to happen again. I won't let it. You can't control everything, baby. That's not how life works. Then I'll control what I can. Mason took her hand. I'm not going anywhere. Neither are you. We're going to be okay. Promise? Promise. She squeezed his hand, and some of the tension left her face. They drove home together, mother and son, through countryside that had almost become a crime scene. But they were still here, still together, still fighting. And that was enough. The fallout from Morrison's arrest rippled through the whole county. His company collapsed within weeks. Partners fled. Investors sued. The empire he'd built on intimidation and corruption crumbled like wet cardboard. Chad Morrison withdrew from school. Word was the family was moving out of state. Starting over somewhere, nobody knew their name. Mason saw him one last time in the parking lot loading boxes into a car. Their eyes met. Chad looked away first. Mason felt nothing, no satisfaction, no triumph, just emptiness. That's it. Lily appeared beside him. No dramatic confrontation, no final words. What would I say? Good riddance. I hope you learned something. Mason shook his head. He's not worth the energy. That's very mature of you. I'm trying something new. She laughed and took his hand. Come on, my dad's waiting. Grizz had called a meeting at the clubhouse. All hands, no exceptions. Mason didn't know what it was about, but Lily's expression said it was important. They drove together, her bike leading his truck. The spring air was warm, the roads were clear, everything felt new. The clubhouse was packed when they arrived. Every member present, every chair filled. Grizz stood at the front wearing his full colors. "Brothers," he began, "we're here to recognize one of our own." Mason's heart started pounding. 3 months ago, a farm boy walked into a blizzard to save my daughter. He didn't know her, didn't owe her anything, but he went anyway because it was the right thing to do. The room was silent, every eye on Grizz. Since then, he's faced down billionaires, protected his family, stood tall when powerful men tried to break him. He's shown more courage, more integrity, more heart than most men show in a lifetime. Grizz walked toward Mason. "I gave him Danny's vest because I saw something in him, something rare, something worth believing in." He stopped in front of Mason. "I wasn't wrong." He pulled something from his pocket. A patch, silver thread on black leather, the Hells Angels full member patch. "Mason Cole, in recognition of your service to this club and this family, I'm offering you full membership. Not honorary, real, complete, everything that comes with it." The room erupted. Cheers, whistles, fists pounding on tables. Mason stood frozen. I don't ride a motorcycle." Grizz laughed. "We'll teach you." "I'm 18, still in high school. So was I when I started. I don't know if I deserve this." "That's not for you to decide." Grizz held out the patch. "This is for the club, and the club has decided you're one of us, Mason, if you want to be." Mason looked at the patch, at Grizz, at Lily, who was crying and smiling at the same time, at the room full of men who'd accepted him, believed in him, protected him when he had nothing to offer in return. "Yes," he said, "I want to be." The cheers got louder, hands slapped his back, beers appeared from nowhere. Grizz pinned the patch to his vest right next to Danny's memorial marker. "Welcome to the family, son, for real this time." Mason couldn't speak, could barely breathe, but when Lily threw her arms around him, he found his voice. "Thank you, all of you. I don't have words for what this means." "You don't need words," Diesel said from across the room, "just actions, and you've already proven those." The party lasted until midnight. Mason danced with Lily, drank with brothers he was only beginning to know, listened to stories about the old days, the hard days, the days when being a Hell's Angel meant something different. And somewhere in the middle of it all, he realized something. He wasn't the invisible farm boy anymore. He wasn't the scholarship kid who ate lunch alone. He was Mason Cole, survivor, protector, Hell's Angel, and he was just getting started. 3 months later, graduation day arrived. Mason walked across the stage to receive his diploma, and the auditorium exploded. Not just his mother cheering, not just Lily. 20 Hells Angels in full colors standing in the back row, making more noise than the rest of the crowd combined. Principal Warren looked like she wanted to say something, but thought better of it. Mason grinned and held up his diploma. The cheering got louder. After the ceremony, the whole club gathered at the farm. Sarah Cole had prepared a feast, with help from Axe, of course. The tables were loaded with food. The yard was full of motorcycles. The air smelled like barbecue and freedom. "Not bad for a farm boy," Lily said, sliding her arm through his. "Not bad at all." They walked together through the crowd, accepting congratulations, dodging questions about college, promising to visit people they'd probably never see again. Eventually, they found a quiet spot by the old barn. "So," Lily said, "what now?" "State Agricultural College, like I planned. Learn how to make this place better." "And that's still the dream. Part of it." He turned to face her. "The other part is you." "Me? I want to build something, Lily. Something real. Something that lasts." He took her hands. "I want to build it with you." "That sounds like a proposal, farm boy." "Not yet. We're too young. We've got too much to figure out." He smiled. "But someday, when we're ready, when we've earned it." "You think we can last that long?" "I think we can last forever, if we try." Lily looked at him with those ice blue eyes. The same eyes that had opened in a snowstorm, unfocused and dying 3 months ago. Now they were bright, alive, full of future. "I'm in," she said. "Whatever happens, wherever we go, I'm in. Yeah, yeah, she kissed him, soft and sweet and certain. You're stuck with me, Mason Cole. Better get used to it. I think I can handle that. You better. They stood there as the sun set, as the party continued behind them, as the world turned toward whatever came next. Mason thought about everything that had led to this moment. The blizzard, the rescue, the enemies and allies, the battles won and lost, the love found in the most unexpected place. He thought about his grandfather who taught him to survive, his father who taught him to work, his mother who taught him how to fight, and Lily who taught him to believe. He wasn't invisible anymore. He was part of something bigger, something stronger, something that would last. The farm boy who walked into a blizzard, the Hell's Angel who walked out, and the man who was finally ready to face whatever storms came next. Behind him, Grizz raised a glass. To Mason Cole, the bravest man I know. To Mason, the crowd echoed. Mason smiled and pulled Lily close. The stars came out one by one over the farm that had almost been lost, over the family that had found each other, over the future that was just beginning. Sometimes the quietest people are the bravest. Sometimes the loneliest people find the strongest families. And sometimes, if you are willing to walk into the storm, you find exactly what you've been looking for. Love, belonging, purpose, home. Mason Cole had found all of it, and he was never letting go.